And again, we're live. I figured I was trying to get you guys to say some shit at the beginning, but it got quiet right before I went live. So this is Brews and Bets. My name's Steve Ricciardi. With me, as always, is Tyler Beard. Tyler, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Just got back from Vegas this week. Worked the fights out there this weekend.
And special guest CG, 2 weeks in a row. CG, how we doing? How's it in Michigan?
It's cold. It's shitty, but I'm going to San Diego this weekend, so it's going to be nice to get in the sun for a little bit.
Definitely. He'll have a nice little tan for next week.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into this card. This card is has a couple names, as all these cards do. UFC Fight Night Wichita, if you're going by the old naming scheme, and then we have UFC on ESPN +4, Lewis versus Dos Santos. This I believe it starts Saturday at 5:00. Is that the first fight of the card? I think it's at 5:00. That's what they have on Tapology. So the first fight of the card is Alex White and Dan Moretti. Tyler, you seem to have a lean on this one, so I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, so what I think is going to happen in this fight card is, or in this fight in specific, is I think that if Alex White can keep this fight standing, I think that he's going to pick Moretti apart. However, I think that if Moretti can get this to the ground at some point, that he will be able to lock in a submission. So, you know, I'm not really confident on it, but I think a quarter unit or a half unit play on Moretti by submission, I think that's really his only way to win. And right now it's +437, and I think that's worth a half unit to start the night. Try to hit a good underdog.
Yeah, and again, I personally think that this line is pretty much on par with where it should be, but I think it's a close fight. Alex White, what I noticed in his last fight, CJ, and I don't know if you noticed this yourself, but when he was fighting Jim Miller, he looked like his range was just off. Jim Miller hit him with everything, and Alex White seemed to be like over punching or just coming up short on his punches and his kicks. Like he barely even touched Jim Miller. And Jim Miller was just way too comfortable, knocked him down, was able to get the finish real early in that fight. But I think this may be maybe even a little bit closer than where the line indicates right now. CG, what do you think here? Alex White, Dan Moretti?
It seems like almost everybody is on Dan Moretti, and I'm just not ready to bet on him. People keep on saying that his 4 losses were to UFC caliber opponents, and I just don't really know what to think of that because, okay, if he fought 4 UFC caliber guys, he lost to all 4 of them. I mean, we don't know if he's ready to compete at this level yet. And one thing about Alex White is he has a definitive skill set. His boxing is very crisp. He was landing on James Krause before, Krause took him to the ground and pretty much just controlled him. So, but you're right though, Steve. He looked like absolute dog shit against Jim Miller. Miller shorter, doesn't have a long reach, and he was teeing off, and his striking defense looked terrible. So, my lean in this fight is Alex White, but I don't have enough confidence in him to bet it.
CJ, it's funny you say that because that's exactly what I just said on the Quan Edge podcast.
Yeah.
Dan Moretti, his losses are to Luke Sanders, Bobby Moffitt, Rayone Barcelos, and Gilbert Burns. The last 2 finished him.
Yeah.
You're talking about Alex White, who's 1-3 since 2018, but his one win in the UFC in that stretch, or since 2017, I believe, is against Mitch Clark, who hasn't fought since then. So have they beaten high-level guys? I don't think so. Have they competed with them? Maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, Bobby Moffitt does have a win, although controversial in the UFC, right? He got that win. And Luke Sanders, and Luke Sanders has that win from a few weeks ago, right? But for the most part,
I remember
he really hasn't been a UFC killer at all, to be honest with you. I am waiting for Ronnie Barcelos to fight again. He hasn't fought in a while, but he looked pretty good. All right, let's go to this next fight: Alex Morano and Zach Otto. And I really do like Alex Morano in this fight. I'll take this one. I wouldn't mind a bet on Morano at -185. I actually wrote down bet Morano as one of my plays, so I'm glad you guys didn't mention that you're on it, so I could talk about it a little bit. I just think Zach Otto has a decent skill set. but for the most part, he's not a high volume guy, and I think Morano's going to push the pace here. Completely different fight for Otto than his fight versus Grant, where Grant kind of just stayed up against the cage, waited for Otto to come at him, and he was able to kind of pick him apart, throw a kick, get out of harm's way. Even Grant got him on his back. Otto was on his back once or twice, and he didn't want to mess around with him on the ground. I think Morano has no problem with messing around with Otto on the ground. He's a BJJ black belt himself. So I kind of think Morano wins this fight and takes it anywhere it goes. So at minus 185, I believe that's the line right now. I really have no problem with Alex Morano on this fight. Ty, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I don't like this fight. We kind of went over it on the Quant Edge podcast. I think that both of these fighters have ways to win. I just personally would not put money on this.
What do you think, CG?
I'm with you on Morano. More volume, more of a killer instinct. The guy throws to take your goddamn head off. Doesn't have any TKOs in the UFC just yet, but this fight's personal. I don't know if you've been following, but Zach Otto's been calling out Morano for a long time, and Morano's pretty pissed off about it, and I think he's going to go in there guns blazing. And one of the lines that I kind of like in this fight is Morano by TKO plus 355. What do you think about that one? Zach Otto, keep in mind, has been knocked out by Jing Liang and Northcott, so he's a little bit chinny. And let's be honest, Zach Otto is just so goddamn basic. His striking is basic. Lands less than one takedown per minute or per 15 minutes. I mean, he doesn't do a whole lot. Who's the last guy he beat? Or did he beat the dude from AKA, Dwight Grant?
He beat Dwight Grant.
Right?
Which again was controversial. Who even knows if he won that fight?
Right. Besides that, Mike Pyle.
Well, and that's my thing with this fight. I think that if Otto is able to take him down, I think that he could win the fight easily. I'm just not convinced that he could take Morano down. And so it kind of, I don't really like putting my money behind Morano just because he has such terrible takedown defense.
Yeah, 40%.
Yeah, and I don't like paying what is he right now, minus 180. I don't really like paying that for a guy that can't stop a takedown and a guy that versus a guy that could be looking for the takedown, even though he sucks at them. But it's just a lot of questions. I think Morano is going to win the fight. I just don't feel confident enough to put my money on it.
That's fair enough. I mean, the guy was knocked out, though, Zach Otto, in 2 of his last 4 fights, and he's the type of dude that is just allergic to adversity. Once he gets rocked, he just looks for a way out. But then again, Morano hasn't finished anybody via strikes at the UFC level not yet. So he's got 1 win by submission, but no TKO victories. But I don't know. It could be his first on Saturday. What do you think, Steve? Do you think Morano can get a finish here?
I kind of just like to play him to win.
Yeah, okay.
I think he can get a finish. Don't get me wrong. I think he can finish it. I personally, I know he's a BJJ black belt, and I kind of don't mind if it goes to the ground, to be honest with you. I think that Otto had a perfect opportunity to finish Sage Northcutt, and he didn't get the job done.
Yeah.
So if you go back to that fight, he basically gassed himself out, gassed his arms out trying to finish Sage, and then once it did get back up to the feet, I mean, Sage just unloaded on him, and then the UFC cut him for whatever reason. But or his contract, he didn't renew his contract. But I like Morano. I think I'm going to play him. I may even parlay him. We'll see what happens. I haven't made any plays just yet, but we'll see what happens. Let's get into this next fight. CG.
Well, Steve, before we get into the next fight, I want to talk about the sponsor that we just picked up today.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, so I actually my best friend's wedding is in a couple weeks. So the bachelor party's this weekend, and I reached out to one of my former coworkers, a lady named Brenda Amaker. She's a travel agent. She actually set me up with a great room in San Jose. Pretty much got me a good price. Right now, she's doing. She specializes in small trips and weekend getaways and stuff. But right now, she's actually doing taking signups for a large group. They're doing the Super Bowl cruise next year, leaving out of the Port of Oakland. So we're gonna post her her link in the description. You know, check her out and maybe book some travel with her. She'll hook you up with good prices and worry free.
Yeah, I am looking to go to Miami possibly for a UFC card in 2 months. So we'll see what happens.
I'll give you her contact information. You could hit her
go. Well, you didn't send me the link, so I got it already, bro.
Oh yeah, true.
All right, so CG, Louis Smolka and Matt Schnell. I'm interested to see. Ty and I are split on this fight, but you have a little bit of a lean here. So what do you think?
I do. So I thought it was a hot take, but it's not that hot of a take now that I'm looking. Fight doesn't go to decision, -115. So these are two guys that have their backs against the wall. The loser will probably get cut, even though they're fighting at 135. They used to fight at 125. But I think these guys are going to come out and go at it. One thing about Louis Smolka, not the most reliable guy, but he fights at an extremely high pace. Lands about 4 strikes per minute. He's always going for takedowns. Very active with his submissions. I think he can finish Schnell. And you look at Schnell's 2 UFC victories, in a way, and Beltran, and those were 2 boring-ass striking-based decisions. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens once Smolka really pushes the pace against him. And I don't know what exactly I want to bet. I might just bet fight doesn't go to decision at -115. But I kind of like the line of Smolka by inside the distance +175 as well. So I think Smolka's going to win. And yeah, not that we're talking about DraftKings, but I think he's a really good play on DraftKings as well at $8,300.
So Ty, since it seems like it's going to be 2-on-1 against you, I'm going to throw it to you because I'm on Smolka also.
Well, I think
for Schnell.
Well, I think me and you both are in agreement that we think it's going to be a pretty close decision.
Yeah.
So my thinking is that they're both similar type fighters. They both are high volume. Schnell, CG already mentioned that Smolka lands about four strikes per minute. Schnell also does. I think that he's going to have the speed advantage jumping up from 125. I kind of want to see how they size up on the scale, but this fight has on paper, I think that it's going to play out a lot like the Inoue fight. And I think that Schnell might be able to edge him out in a decision. I really don't trust Smolka. I haven't really for the majority of his career. If anybody is going to win by stoppage, it is going to be Smolka, but I kind of tend to lean towards Schnell outstriking him.
All right. So
and I expect a split decision, really close decision. So that being said.
So for the most part, I don't disagree with anything that either one of you said. Again, that's a narrative that could definitely happen. Matt Schnell's an American top team guy. He did fight Jonathan Martinez, who is one of Ty's guys, and Jonathan Martinez was basically about to win the fight until he hit him with an illegal knee on the regional scene. So again, you're talking about losing fights at 125, Matt Schnell, and getting finished. Right, he got finished by Tim Elliott. That was actually at 135 by rear naked choke to a 135er. And this fight is going to be his first fight in the UFC at 135, I believe.
Elliott also beat Smolka, though.
Correct. Hector Sandoval, ground and pound, was able to finish Schnell with a hammer fist in ground and pound. So again, he's the one who's been knocked out a few times. Smolka took some shots from Matthias Nicolau. And, I mean, he got knocked down 3 times in the first round, I believe. And he was able to withstand it. And, again, that was when he had his drinking problem. So I don't think that, he's given up alcohol from what we've heard. I believe he's at Team Oyama at this point. And he looked good in his last fight at 135. He came through. So I'm willing to give him another chance in this fight. And again, that's fight that Ty alluded to earlier with Schnell and Inoue. Inoue's a 21-year-old kid coming in to the UFC, making his debut. And for the most part, Schnell jumped on him early. And then I think the second and third rounds kind of went 1-1 in that fight. So if Schnell didn't come out of the gate, quick there, I think it could have been a closer fight than what a lot of people would have considered. Considering that Schnell, had all the experience in his corner. So I think that Smolka's in a great spot. I think he's fought the better people in the UFC, although he's lost to a lot of them. And again, he had to earn his way back into the UFC. So I don't know. I agree with CG, but definitely, we'll see what happens.
Another quick narrative.
Go ahead.
Take from it what you will, but Matt Schnell's training in Northern California for this fight, or I'm sorry, he's Santa Cruz. So he's out by San Jose. He said he's going to AKA, I think 2 times a week, and he's training somewhere else. But before that, he was at American Top Team in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like he's one of those nomad fighters. And don't get me wrong, it's good to train at different camps, develop new skill sets and stuff, but he just can't seem to build any continuity with one camp. And it doesn't even seem like the way he was explaining it on the James Lynch interview. It just seems like he was going to AKA for like classes almost. It didn't seem like he was getting like personal attention from Javier Mendez or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think that Smolka is going to come in and just put a pace on Schnell and potentially break him. So we shall see.
Yeah, I'm actually real interested in that fight. Again, 2 guys that I guess because of the 125 division possibly not existing anymore, went up to 135, and now they're both, trying to make a name for themselves there. But I think that the guy who wins the fight, gets another couple fights, and the guy who loses is going to be on, in hot water, because if they lose another one, who knows? Smolka can get out of this the UFC real quick again. So let's get into this next fight. Maurice Green and Jeff Hughes. This is a rematch. You guys both seem to have a hot take, so Tyler, go ahead. Why don't you take this one and let us know what you think about Hughes and Green?
Yeah. So what we know from Green is that he doesn't have good takedown defense. He's not good at grappling, and Hughes is the exact type of fighter that can exploit that. He already has once in the first time that they fought. So outside of him getting caught, I just really think that Hughes is going to take this fight down and grind him out. And, right now Hughes by decision is plus 135. I know it's a little bit risky taking a heavyweight to win by decision, but I think that this fight sets up perfectly for that.
CJ, are you in agreement with Jeff Hughes? He did beat Maurice Green at LFA 38, which was in 2017, and he is Stipe's training partner. So
yes.
I'm
very confident in Jeff Hughes, but I think he can actually score a finish. Maurice Green, he was on The Ultimate Fighter, not overly impressive, decent kickboxing. I think he has 3 career wins by triangle choke, but that's something that you win with on the regional scene for the most part. I don't think he's going to get Jeff Hughes by submission. I don't think he's going to win the stand-up. Jeff Hughes is a big dude, but he seems to have extremely good cardio, good boxing, won his fight on the Contender Series with a nice uppercut, more well-rounded. I like Jeff Hughes to win, and I like Jeff Hughes to finish. I don't think Green's very resilient. I think if he's in a compromised position, he's going to look for a way out. So I like Jeff Hughes. God, Jeff Hughes inside the distance. Am I seeing that right? Plus 247. I think that's an outstanding line.
Is that really the line?
Am I reading that right? Hughes wins inside the distance plus 247. It seems too good to be true.
Well, I think the reason why is because when they fought the first time, Hughes just took him down and controlled him.
Okay.
I'm gonna write that one down because I do like it. I'm gonna add one thing that I actually said on the Quan Edge podcast too in our DFS breakdown. And again, if anybody is interested in a DFS breakdown, Tyler and I do the DFS stuff for the Quan Edge. If you go to the website, thequanedge.com, use code Brews, and you can get a little bit of a discount. But for the most part, Hughes has very good low leg kicks. And I think that he's going to be able, Maurice Green is like 6'7". I think he's going to have like a 5-inch height advantage. And for the most part, Hughes will be able to attack that lead leg. So I think if he peppers him early with some leg kicks, kind of chops him down, gets him down to the ground, and then Hughes ground and pound, he's got a better gas tank than Maurice Green. And again, as my partners here alluded to, Maurice Green has been he actually finished that tough 28 fight against Batista with the triangle choke.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's getting it here on Hughes. So let's get into this next fight. We got Grant Dawson and Julian Rosa. And Tyler, you got a hot take on Grant Dawson. So let us hear it, bro.
Well,
I heard a beer open. Who opened that beer?
That was CG.
Oh, yeah, he got quiet. He must have taken that
that-
first sip.
That was actually beer number 2 from what I could count.
That was, yeah. I think I only have one left.
Judgment, no judgment. We are looking for a beer sponsor. So if anyone's out there, we are looking for a beer sponsor. We go through way too much here. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, no. So I think that Rosa, he wants to keep this fight standing. The problem is that he drops his hands. He's really slow, and he's just really hittable. And I think Dawson is the better fighter everywhere. I think he can pick him apart on the feet, maybe even crack him on the feet and knock him. But if he wants to take this fight to the ground, I think that he's going to get a submission. I don't really know where it's going to finish, but what I do know is at minus 170, I think Dawson's a great play, and I'm going to load up heavily on him.
Yeah, I'm on Dawson also, and again, I kind of just wrote down bet Dawson, and I may even put him with Morano. That may be a parlay that I play. CG, anything to add there? You like any bets here on Dawson or Rosa? And if I'm going to do Dawson, I kind of want it inside the distance.
That's what I was just going to say. That minus 105. Think about Dawson is, I mean, if he gets top position in his fight on the Contender Series, he was absolutely relentless. His ground and pound is fierce. His takedowns are good. One of those guys, he gets against the fence and, find a trip or, work a takedown from the clinch. And once he gets that top position, it's all over. And even if the fight remains standing, I mean, I was listening to an interview with Juliana Rosa, and it just doesn't seem like the guy has any self-awareness. I don't think he realizes how chinny he is. And, it's just one of those things. I mean, if he loses the fight, I don't picture him going the distance when he has Grant Dawson on top of him, throwing wicked ground and pound at his face for 15 minutes. So, yeah, I think if you play Dawson, I think you have to play him inside the distance. Minus 105, that's not bad. Might parlay that with Hughes.
Is inside the distance a better play than playing Dawson by KO TKO? Do you think he can grab a submission here?
Yeah, he won his Contender Series fight by rear naked choke, didn't he?
Yeah, no, Dawson's really good at submissions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stud on the ground.
He trains with James Krause out in Missouri.
All right.
James Krause is a pretty legit black belt.
Yeah, I do remember the ground and pound, so I was thinking maybe we could just get a little bit better number there. But yeah, I guess it's a little bit safer to do that. All right, that's why we talk on Brews and Bets. We get ourselves to the consensus best play here. So Yana Kunitskaya and Marion Reneau. I'll take this one only because I kind of think that their last fights are exactly how this one's going to play out. So Yana Kunitskaya is 29 years old now, and again, she made her UFC debut against Cyborg, and she obviously didn't want to get punched in the face that night. So she tried to just take her down. I think she got her down once or twice actually. But once it got back up to the feet, Cyborg just put her to sleep pretty. I don't know if she actually knocked her out or not, but she finished that fight. But against Lena Landsberg, Yana looked a lot better. Obviously, Lena doesn't have the striking ability that Cyborg does. I mean, not many people do, other than Amanda Nunes, I guess. But Yana was able to basically muscle her in the clinch, which again, Lena is known as the elbow queen. So that was my one concern, that Lena could get off in the clinch. I was on Yana pretty good in that fight, and Yana came through and really was able to. I think there was a hip throw, hip toss, and she was able to get her down a few times. Yana throws a good left hand when you try to close the distance, which I think can kind of keep the forward movement of Reneau at bay. Reneau likes to run forward and kind of throw combinations, 2, 3, 4 punches in a row just to get into that clinch. And then again, against Kat Zingano, Reneau pulled guard twice, I believe once in the first round, once in the third round. For the most part, she's 41 years old right now. She looked exhausted after round 1. And, her last few fights, even against Sarah McMahon had her way with her early. And then she was able to get a triangle choke from bottom position against Sarah McMahon. I don't see that happening here against Kunitskaya. I think Kunitskaya is going to get the top position. She's going to get side control. She's going to be able to control Reneau on the ground. And I think, Reneau may have one good round, but I think Kunitskaya has got rounds 2 and 3 locked up. with better conditioning. I think Reneau was way too tired in that Ngannou fight to win a round against Yana. So I have no problem playing Yana here. It may even be one of my parlay pieces at minus 170, I believe. I'm pretty confident with Yana in this fight. Anybody want to take this, CG?
I agree with you for the most part, but I cannot bet this fight. Marion Reneau scares me a little bit. I'm worried that, if Kunitskaya continues to take her down throughout the fight, that at some point Renee could throw a triangle, armbar, use one of her slick submissions. I mean, she's a black belt. She's one of those fighters that you just can't really count out. I don't know. And plus, we don't really know what Kunitskaya is yet. She's one and one in the UFC. We don't really know what her fight IQ is. Is she susceptible to the submission? I don't know. I don't think there's enough data on her yet. I think Kunitskaya is safe for the most part. I'm just a little hesitant. That's all.
The only thing I will add to that, she's 1-1, but one fight was at 135, one was at 145 versus Cyborg. You know what I mean?
True, and it is Cyborg.
Yeah, it's just, you don't fight Cyborg at 135 and 145 unless you're Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? But take it for what it's worth. Ty, anything with to add on that? Yana?
No, I'm in agreement with CG on this fight. I think that Yana should win. I just think that I wouldn't be surprised if Reneau did something to pull off a shocking upset.
One thing to keep in mind, too, her Kunitskaya's last win was against Lena Landsberg, who's a kickboxer. She's not known for her grappling. She has no MMA wins by submission. That's Lena Landsberg. Reneau's slick off her back, so just be cautious on that one.
She hits with a lot of power too for her division.
Yeah.
The only thing I will add to that with Yana, again, if Reneau is on her back, she needs to get the finish on her back or she's going to lose the fight, right? Like she's probably not going to do enough damage on her back to win the fight when someone's inside control or anything like that. So if Reneau is going to go to her back, she's going to lose the fight by decision if she doesn't get that submission. So that's why I really do like Yana, because I think the only way that Marion can win this fight is by submission. And if she catches her, then more power to her. But I think at 41 years old with Yana, second fight in the UFC or third fight in the UFC, 29 years old now, kind of coming into her prime, I do like it at minus 170. So
Kunitskaya does have 2 losses by submission. One to Tanya Evinger.
I know that Evinger, she actually submitted Evinger, right? The first time. I think she beat Evinger by the first time and then got submitted the second time.
Yeah, it was overturned.
Was it overturned?
She appealed the loss due to a controversial referee call. Okay. But yeah, then Evinger went back though and beat her with rear naked choke, second round.
That's kind of weak as hell, though.
Yeah.
I mean, controversial. I mean, Herb Dean has been getting shit all week, no?
Yeah.
But all right, Tony Martin, Tyler, I'm sending this one to you because I really want to know if you're gonna bet Tony Martin. CJ, I don't know if you know this, but Tyler was able to do very, very well. What was that type? UFC 229?
Martin's last fight? Yeah.
Yeah, was that was Habib and Connor. Basically maxed out and faded Martin. And Martin was the reason that he didn't have a huge night. So,
man.
Tyler, are we willing to make a bet here on Martin at his current price of minus 200?
I would rather you not send this one to me. I really don't like Tony Martin. I don't like his fighting style. I think that he could win this fight. I'm just not convinced that he should be minus 200 versus somebody like Sergio Morice. I think that Morice is a huge step up in competition for him. And, if this line was closer to even money, I would tend to lean towards Martin. But I just don't know if he's on the level of somebody like Morice. So I'm personally not going to touch it. That being said, I'm not going to take Morice either. So I'm just going to fade this fight completely.
Yeah, I do like this fight. I want to watch this fight because I want to see if Martin is taking that step up, but I'm not going to bet it. CG, any bets here that you like?
No, this fight scares me, honestly. So I will give Tony Martin credit. I feel like ever since he made the move to American Top Team, he has looked substantially better. He's 3-0 as a welterweight. So I think that helped him, going from 155 to 170, not having to deal with the weight cut. But also, I mean, he is showing tremendous improvements, in my opinion, since moving to AT&T. But Sergio Moraes, it's like, where does he really have the advantage? I mean, neither guy. I mean, I think Tony Martin has good technical boxing, but he only has one knockout on his record, and it was a head kick against Ryan LaFleur. And then he has 9 wins by submission. Is he really going to sub Sergio Moraes? I can't imagine. If it goes to the ground, who has the advantage?
I think Morice does on the ground.
I think so too. So, yeah, I think there's a way too wide of a line disparity in this fight, and I'm staying away from it. But like I said, I mean, Martin continues to get better every fight. I was on him heavily against Jake Matthews, and then he was able to finish that fight with a slick Darce. So, but he's not going to do that against Moraes. So, fade for me.
Yeah, I do agree with that. The one thing I will say about Martin, and it really goes to Sergio Moraes. How does he strike? Sergio Moraes, if you go back to the Tim Means fight or any of his fights, he throws like very wide hooks, wide right hooks, wide left hooks, and he kind of winds up. And again, Tony Martin has quick hands, man. So if Moraes winds up like that, Tony Martin just has to step in and really unload. And if he can beat him to the punch, he can knock Moraes out. Just being able, again, if I'm watching it on tape, I'm sure he's got some of the best people at ATT watching this tape, and he's going to see that Moraes really brings those arms back to step forward and try to throw those hooks. So I'm not going to bet it, but I do like Martin pretty good. And if you want the DraftKings DFS plays, the Quan Edge is the place to go. Next fight up, anybody have a hot take? Amari Ahmetov and Tim Boetsch. CJ, I'll throw it right back to you because I kind of know how Tyler feels about this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is another fight with a lot of volatility, in my opinion. I mean, Ahmetov could take Boetsch down. No, Boetsch only has 57% takedown defense. Ahmetov lands almost 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. There's a path to victory for Ahmetov. But Ahmetov has been known to gas out, and if Boetsch can stuff the takedowns, then there's always that chance that Boetsch can score one of his miracle knockout victories. He does win 62% of his wins by knockout. But, I mean, how can you be confident in this fight? Honestly, gun to my head, Boetsch, I think he has a little bit of odds value, right? Or what's the line here? Ahmetov is minus 130. Boetsch is plus 110. Yeah, so one thing that I always tell myself, it's like my main MMA betting business rule. Don't trust people that don't have a fucking gas tank. And what do I do? Last weekend, I put money on Mickey fucking Gall. God damn it, I hate that guy. So, yeah, let's go Boetsch in this one. I think
CJ, you bet Mickey Gall last week?
No, yeah, I did. I did. Honestly, I just
we tried to tell you.
You know what it was?
People had so much faith in Diego Sanchez, and I don't know. I just didn't see it. Gall had him rocked a couple times. So, but I didn't think Gall's gas tank was that bad. I mean, he went 3 rounds with Randy Brown. I mean, Gall was completely sapped at the end of the first. And well, again, he just obviously didn't take that training camp seriously at all.
No. I don't know if you saw what happened, but he actually passed out during his weight cut.
Oh, okay. I think
he had a very, very difficult weight cut. He passed out during the weight cut, and I think that's why he came out like that, because he knew it wasn't going to have much of a gas tank. I don't think Diego Sanchez expected him to come out like that, because he looked shocked, and he was just like,
"So just
that was a joke. That was tough to watch."
Just to let you guys know, in the media room, Diego came in after the fight. We interviewed him for about 25 minutes, and that's the one that you guys should check out. He's on another level of crazy. It was great to see. Like I think that he's getting back to the point where he enjoys martial arts rather than it being his job. So I think that he has a different mindset coming in, and like I think kind of his love is restored for fighting. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing to see. It was.
He made a ton of money too, not for nothing. I don't know if you saw the amount of money that these guys made for that fight, but Diego Sanchez made a ton of money for.
Did he seriously?
Yeah, he made way more money than I thought he would.
Well, one thing that I didn't know is when he was going through the period of time where he was losing a lot of his fights, he was going through a divorce. And so he said his head wasn't in it. And he said that now that all that's cleared up, he said this training camp he was able to focus on everything.
Yeah, wasn't he going through the divorce though because his wife wanted him to quit fighting?
Well, according to him, his wife said that he was bipolar. I think he's just crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, after your interview, you may agree.
Yeah. But I mean, Diego was one of the first fighters that I've ever met, so I kind of had a connection with him. So I talked to him off to the side after the interview. So it was a cool experience.
Yeah, no, you're right. So according to Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt because it's Wikipedia. Diego Sanchez made $198,000.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. I think it's like MMA Netherlands is on Instagram, and they put out how much everybody makes for the fights every week. And I was just shocked. I was shocked that he made that much money. But again, he's been in the game forever, right? What did he win?
Ultimate Fighter Season 1.
Season 1. There you go. So he's been there forever.
So pretty much
2005 that was.
He made 100,000 and his ex-wife made 100,000.
Come on, be nice.
No,
it's still 100,000. I mean, I didn't make 100,000 just to what did that spend him? About 8-9 minutes?
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the second round.
Yeah.
And again, for the most part, I mean, yeah, he took a couple punches, but he punched a whole lot more than he took.
He didn't really have a bite on him a mark on him. He only had the bite on his chest during the interview.
He did. Yeah. Did you hear about that, CG?
No.
Mickey Gall bit him at one point. Yeah, I did hear that too.
I mean, that just goes back to the importance of having a gas tank. Even at this point, let's be honest, Diego's not as skilled as he used to be. He doesn't have the power that he once had. But one thing that he has is a great pace and a gas tank. Yeah. I could easily go 25 rounds, and he just let go, gas himself out, kind of played the rope-a-dope.
And it seems like it translates better at 170 for him than 155.
Yeah,
whether he has more energy or what.
Yeah, at one point Sanchez fought at 145, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
So
the hilarious part is that this fight was supposed to be about Ahmetov and Boetsch. We just totally talked about Diego Sanchez.
It just goes to show how excited we are about that Ahmetov.
So, what do you guys think about this fight? Who do you like? Who's your lean?
I actually would play Boetsch if I played anybody. Boetsch, I think it's dog or pass to steal Paul Shaughnessy and those guys. But for the most part, I would play Boetsch or nobody. And I'll even go a step further. I think Ahmetov, he has a very good he had a very good game plan against Razak Al-Hassan. Was able to take him down a few times. But for the most part, I thought he lost the fight against Marvin Vettori. I watched the fight before, and I was telling Ty on the Quan Edge podcast, I thought he lost that fight. I thought he won round 1, and I thought he lost rounds 2 and 3. So I was surprised they called it a draw. I would have called it for Vettori myself.
Yeah.
Well, for me in this fight, I don't mind actually putting some money on both to win in the second round and the third round. Right now, the second round's plus 500, the third round's plus 700. Because I think that Ahmetov is going to have the advantage in the first round. I think he's going to work some takedowns. He is going to gas out. And I think that Boetsch could pick up the pieces and get a knockout later in the fight. I wouldn't play a lot on it, but I think that that's where I would go if I do put some money on this fight.
Third round Boetsch, is that a thing? Listen, I'm sure it'll pay well.
One thing about Boetsch, though, he does have 5 losses by submission.
But Ahmetov Ahmetov's not really a submission guy.
He's a ground specialist, though. I mean, more of a grinder, though.
Yeah.
So let's get into this next fight, which again I'm not overly thrilled about either. Beneil Dariush and Drew Dober. I think for the most part it's going to stay on the feet. I think it's going to be a striking match, and I think Dariush just kind of outpoints him to a decision win myself. So Dariush by decision would be my play. I think Dariush is a little bit more concerned about stepping forward with that chin, after getting knocked out a few times. So for the most part, my play would be Dariush by decision. But CJ, go ahead, throw it to you. What do you think here?
I would agree on that. I think it's kind of unfortunate because Dariush, in my opinion, is so talented. I mean, he has world-renowned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He has sharp striking. The one thing he doesn't have is a goddamn chin. You know, stiff breeze comes by, he's going down. So it just sucks, honestly, because I think the guy has a world of potential. I think he could be a championship contender, but you can just tell in his last fight that he was just so timid, so hesitant. He got rocked a couple times, then immediately went for the takedown. But it's good that he has that in his back pocket. Against Drew Dober, though, you look at these guys and they're so comparable. Dariush 4 strikes per minute, Dober 4.5 strikes per minute. Dariush 1.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, Dober's 1.1. I mean, God, it's a very close fight on paper. They both have good gas tanks, good volume, but I think Dariush is the more skilled fighter, and I do think he will sneak out a decision. But then again, I can't bet on it because I can't count on Dariush's chin.
And again, not for nothing, some of the shots that Dariush has taken have been big shots.
They have.
If you look at that knee, Ty, I couldn't remember the other guy that knocked him out. It was Barbosa, right? Edson Barbosa knocked him out with that big knee.
Yeah.
He was beating Barbosa for a round and a half. Barbosa came with a jump knee and put it right on his chin and knocked him out clean. You know what I mean? So some of the shots that have knocked him out have been clean shots to the chin. But Ty, what do you think here?
I'm not touching this fight. I'm leaning towards Dober winning the fight just because I don't trust Dariush, but I wouldn't put money on either one of these guys.
All right, so CJ, I'm going to throw this one to you first again, only because I know how Ty feels about it. It's been Rothwell and Blagoy Ivanov. We saw Ivanov against Dos Santos. I guess it was a couple months at this point. I feel like it was a while ago. And Dos Santos just put his boxing, display on Ivanov and won a decision. I think for the most part it was pretty unanimous, right? 50-45 or 49-46 for the most part. Ivanov was at a height disadvantage and a reach disadvantage. He was also at a skill disadvantage because for the most part Ivanov only had that left hand and he couldn't land it, so it didn't really matter. We just don't know what we're gonna get in Ben Rothwell at this point. At this point, he hasn't fought in 3 years,
right?
And as I mentioned to Ty on the Quan Edge podcast, I feel like I don't want to play anything here only because Cain Velasquez came out and everybody was saying, all right, if it's the old Cain, what is he going to do to Francis? And I think at this point, everyone knows it wasn't the old Cain. So what are we going to get in Ben Rothwell? Is it the old Ben Rothwell? Is the old Ben Rothwell going to beat Ivanov? I don't know. I mean, most people thought he was retired, right? I don't even think a lot of people thought he was fighting anymore. So, CG, what do you think here?
Right. You make a lot of good points, and I'm in agreement. One thing I think we know about Ben Rothwell at this point is that he's a cheater. He had a nice win streak going before he lost to Junior Dos Santos. He hasn't fought in almost 3 years, but on paper, Ben Rothwell is the better fighter, and he has the better wins. Ivanov is only 5'11". Rothwell is 6'4". Rothwell has almost a 6-inch reach advantage. Rothwell is somebody that knocked out Alistair Overeem. He knocked out Brandon Vera, slept Brendan Schaub. He even submitted Josh Barnett, and he has an excellent go-go choke. But, he was going through a USADA suspension for the last 2 years. And another thing, he tested positive for elevated levels of testosterone in August of 2013. So this guy was potentially a cheater his entire career. So now that he's clean, I mean, what is he? We don't really know. But all I know is I can't really bet on Ivanov because, just like Zach Otto, it just looks so basic in his last fight. He rocked JDS a couple times, but at 5'11", 250 pounds, the only way he wins this fight is if Rothwell just gasses out because he can't maintain his career clean. He's might be one of those guys that needs the PEDs. So if I were to bet, it's dog or pass, Ben Rothwell. But like you said, Steve, what Ben Rothwell are we going to get?
What about Ivanov wins by KO, TKO plus 260? Because let's just say Rothwell is done. He's spent. Plus 260 is a nice price tag, no?
Yeah, but does Ivanov have a definitive skill set? I mean,
He's got a big left hand.
his best win is Sean Jordan, right? I mean, he was subbed by Volkov in the first round. I can't get over that. So, I don't know.
Tyler, what do you think, bro?
Yeah, I actually I'm gonna probably play Ivanov. I think that he's the better fighter in general. With Rothwell being off for 3 years, we really don't know what Rothwell is going to show up. It might be one you want to wait till the weigh-ins to kind of see what shape he's in. But I don't know. I think that Ivanov has a skill set that could beat him. I think that he has the power edge, striking power, and I think that he's a better grappler also.
And again, even take that with Rothwell. Everyone said Kane, when he comes to the weigh-ins, is gonna have his dad bet on, and he's still gonna be able to fight, and that didn't stop anybody from betting on Kane. You know what I mean? So I don't know what would stop anybody from thinking Rothwell is gonna be the Rothwell of 3. I'll be honest with you. I think Ivanov plus what is it? What did I just say? It was plus 2. Where is it? Ivanov plus 245. I wouldn't mind playing Ivanov plus 245. KO TKO. I think he hits him with
planning on Rothwell gassing out.
I think he'll gas out, and I also just think after 3 years, what are we going to get from him? And if Ivanov wins the fight, I mean, Ty, do you think he's going to win a decision, or do you think he's going to knock him out?
I think he can knock him out. I think a knockout's more likely. I wouldn't be surprised if he did get a decision, but I think he's going to really test his chin. You have to think with Rothwell being out for 3 years, his striking's not going to be as sharp, and Ivanov is going to test him at some point. Will he be able to be durable enough to hold up with that? There's a lot of questions that's unanswered in this fight.
So it's
a risky fight to bet on.
I'll go a step further. I think the late money is going to come in on Rothwell.
Why do you think that?
I think people are going to watch weigh-ins. They're going to see. What would you say Rothwell is 6'4"? Ivanov is 5'11"?
Yep.
I think the late money is going to come in on Rothwell. I think this will go off at a pick'em, and then we're all going to bet Ivanov and make some money.
And that works.
Rothwell has some really damn good wins on paper. That's the thing. But he's wildly inconsistent. Watch his fight against Gabe Gonzaga. It's like, oh my God, how is this fat slob in the UFC? And then he comes out and he knocks out Alistair Overeem. Then he submits Josh Barnett. It's like, what the? Submits Matt Mitrione with that go-go choke is something else. I'll tell you what. If he can get that going, but I don't think Ivanov's going to go in for this for the takedown. So, yeah, I don't know. Too volatile for me.
All I want to know, I want to see the narrative this week be Rothwell is pulsing. He fails his test. He's pulsing, and
see, that's the thing. I mean, when you're on steroids and you're, that big, obviously he's not like a jacked up dude. He doesn't look like Borachina, but still, I mean, when you're on PEDs, what does it do? It helps you recover from injuries and it helps your cardio. He's not going to have that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we wait. I think everybody who's watching this, wait to the weigh-ins. Let everybody see Rothwell is a lot bigger. Let them all bet Rothwell, and then we go Ivanov. We could probably get the KO TKO prop at plus 300, and we go from there. I think that's the way to play this. We got 3 fights left. Nico Price and Tim Meads. CJ, I hear you got to play here. What's going on with this fight?
I do. So initially I was big on Tim Means. He's the technician. Very, very fundamental boxing. 5 strikes per minute. The thing about Nico, though, or the thing about Means is he doesn't have many like one-punch knockouts within the UFC. He's got some finishes due to basically striking volume. His win against Hamasi just kind of beat the brakes off him until Hamasi just folded. Beat John Howard, but he doesn't really have that one-punch knockout power like Razak Hassan has, like Vicente Luque has. So that kind of makes me think that Nico has a chance in this fight. And Nico Price is just such a crazy motherfucker. Like, he's going to put a pace on Means And if he gets Means against the fence, he could take Means down. Means has 63% takedown defense. Means has been subbed 4 times. Nico Price is live. He really is. When I really start to assess this fight. But regardless, I think you can count on this fight ending inside the distance. Nico Price, I think, has only been to decision once. So, I mean, I don't really care who you think's going to win, but I think one thing's for sure, that this fight is going to end in a finish. And this fight ending in the distance currently is... Fight doesn't go to decision. Oh, mine is 225. Oof.
See, I agree that Nico Price is live at his price, but I actually think that Means could outpoint him and outvolume him. And I actually don't mind Means by decision. Right now it's plus 306. I do think that the possibility is there for a finish. I just think that you're getting good value at 306 when, I mean, Means could just stay on the outside and pick him apart.
Yeah, he has that path for sure. He is the much more technical striker, that's for sure.
I tell you what, I was in total agreement with CG, and that's basically what I said. Tyler, you could attest to it. That's basically what I said on the Climax podcast. Nico Price by KO TKO is plus 645. I mean, you could play Price plus 645 and Means plus 305. And those are probably the 2 likely paths to victory for each guy. Because I exactly what CG just said is what I said on the Quan Edge. I think Tim Means, he can outvolume him. He's just a better technical striker, but for the most part, he doesn't have that knockout finishing ability. So I actually wrote both of those down. I'm gonna consider playing that during the week.
But then when Means throws one of those elbows and knocks Price out, then you lose all your money.
I kind of like Price. I kind of like Price inside the distance for plus 266, and I don't know why, but I see Price winning by arm triangle.
Interesting. I don't know. I think it's gonna be like a knockout. I think it's gonna be hammer fist from bottom. Is I'm calling it. He's the only one that he's gonna be the hammer fist from bottom specialist.
Just like Randy Brown, huh?
Exactly like that. All right, so the next fight we have 2 fights left: Zaleski and Millander. And again, I'm gonna set this fight up, and I'm gonna give you a take, and then I'm gonna let you guys go with it, because I think that this fight is basically a toss-up. I think it's a pick-em. I love this fight. I really like both guys. Zaleski's, his striking is outstanding. I think he brings the more dynamic striking to this fight. I think Millander is more of a counter-puncher, but again, his ability, his length with his arm reach, his legs, the way that he's able to kick and get inside and just kind of dodge punches, dodge strikes, and still himself be so offensive at the same time. This is going to be a very good fight, and possibly fight in the night, in my opinion. Even that Nico Price Tim Means fight could be fight in the night, to be honest with you. I'm looking through just now to see if there's any others. Those 2 are probably in the lead for fight in the night for me. But I really do like Zaleski. He's been good, so he's going to be my pick to win this fight. But I'm not going to bet it. I'm just going to watch it as a fan. I think this is a great UFC MMA fight. So Tyler, go ahead. What do you think in this one?
Yeah, so I actually think that this is going to be a good fight also. I think there's going to be a finish in this, and I'm not sure which guy is going to get that finish. So I'm staying away from taking either side. But right now the fight does not go to decision, is plus 130, and I'm going to be playing that because I think that Zaleski he's really aggressive. He could come in there, and if he catches Millander, that he's going to put him down, and he's going to hurt him. Millander is a counter striker, so he's going to take advantage of Zaleski coming forward and being so aggressive. So either way, somebody's going to execute their game plan based off what Zaleski's going to do, being so aggressive. And I really think that somebody's going to go out in this fight.
CG, agree, disagree? What do you think there?
Oh, man, this is tough. And from a betting perspective, I'm staying away from it. You look at their striking statistics, and they're honestly almost identical. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this fight, observe it, be a fan. And yeah, like Ty said, I think this could definitely be fight of the night, or it could be a boring back and forth, methodical striking contest. Probably, I don't know. It's tough. Honestly, Dos Santos has a lot of unique striking techniques. He's able to finish Sean Strickland with that spinning back kick. Millander has a little more, traditional striking, straight punches, front kicks and stuff like that. So, oh man, yeah, I was going back and forth. Initially, I liked Dos Santos, but the more I analyzed the fight, I think Curtis Millander has a really good skill set, and I think Millander probably wins this fight by decision.
Yeah, I actually called him a poor man's Israel Adesanya. And I think that's kind of what I think. CJ, by the way, I hate to be the guy to correct people, but I think you just confuse your Brazilians. This is Zaleski. You just said Dos Santos by mistake.
He's Zaleski Dos Santos.
Yeah, that's his complete.
Oh, okay. When you said Dos Santos, I was thinking Junior Dos Santos. All right.
Yeah.
All right. No, you're right. So I should just shut the hell up. All right. So let's go to the main event here, and I do have two strong plays here. And Ty, if you remember what I said on the Quan Edge, I think you'll be in agreement. But I'm going to save them for the end. So CG, let's get your analysis for Derek Lewis and Junior Dos Santos. Where does either guy win? Pick a round, because I think the round is important here. What do you think?
Oh man, honestly, I see Junior Dos Santos winning by a very risk-averse, boring striking-based decision, similar to what he did against Ivanov. Or I see Derek Lewis finishing him. And honestly, I think that's my hot take today. I think Derek Lewis is going to win this fight. Dos Santos' chin is a concern at this point. He was rocked by Tuivasa numerous times in his last fight. Not to mention, I thought Dos Santos kind of looked like shit physically in his last fight. He looked a little bit flabby. I didn't think he looked good, honestly. And if Lewis catches him, Santos is going to sleep. So honestly, my preferred play is honestly Derek Lewis. But then again, you never know what Derek Lewis you're going to get. He's always bitching and complaining about his back, and doesn't have the best gas tank, doesn't have the best volume. It's a risky play. I don't know if I'm going to bet it, but for me, I can't trust Junior Dos Santos at this point in his career, and it's dog or pass.
All right, Tyler. What do you think here? Fighter and kind of a round too.
I'm not really sure the round. I'm kind of leaning towards round 3, but I think Dos Santos is gonna do whatever he wants in this fight. Pretty much, he just has to avoid that big punch by Lewis, and I think this could go a lot similar to the Volkov versus Lewis fight, where Dos Santos could kind of pick apart at range. Pretty much just outbox the brawler. And if he wants to close the distance and push him up against the cage, I think that he could drain Lewis and sap that gas tank. And once he does that, Lewis he won't have anything left, and Dos Santos will be able to pick him apart. But like CG said, though, Derek Lewis does have the ability to hit a bomb at any time, and Dos Santos doesn't have the best chin. So it is risky if you're going to take Dos Santos, but I think that him inside the distance at minus 102 is a pretty nice play.
I'm thinking Dos Santos, if you pick a third round finish, Dos Santos wins in round 3 is plus 750. Dos Santos in round 4 is plus 1150. So I'm thinking maybe play both of those rounds, round 3 and round 4.
But that being said, Dos Santos does have the ability to knock him out in the first round. He does. You see that versus Tuivasa, he could push him up against the cage and crack him with those short shots and put him out.
But I think that the difference between Tuivasa and Derek Lewis is going to let Dos Santos get in on him, because Derek Lewis wants to expend the least amount of energy so that he can throw that big right hand. Derek Lewis has no problem going into this fight and knowing, all right, I'm going to have 10 big right hands, and I'm going to figure out when I'm going to throw them. And I'm going to wait till he gets close enough to really do something, and then that's when I'm going to throw him. Because that's really all you're going to get from Derek Lewis. You're probably going to get like 5 to 10 big right hands. That's what you're going to see.
Letting Dos Santos inside is probably the worst thing for him in this fight. And I say that because the way that Dos Santos could work his dirty boxing, he's going to put all of his weight against the cage on Lewis, and he's going to drain that energy faster. And that's not a place where Lewis wants this fight.
But you think first round?
If that's the case and he can get him up against the cage and Lewis lets him there, it could end in the first round.
All right, CG, what do you think there?
I was just going to say that Dos Santos obviously finished Tai Tuivasa's last fight, December of 2018. His last finish before that was Mark Hunt in May of 2013. I don't know. I don't think he has that knockout power like he used to. I mean, I guess he kind of proved it in that last fight, but I don't know. That was just kind of a wild punch that he landed on Tuivasa. Derek Lewis, for the most part, is pretty durable. I think if JDS gets close, I envision Derek Lewis putting this guy to sleep. I really do.
Tuivasa had a good chin prior to that Dos Santos fight too.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't really tested though. I mean, beat a couple. He beat Arlovsky and a couple other bums, but De La Roca and then Rashad Coulter. I mean, wasn't really tested until JDS. And let's be honest, Tuivasa was winning that fight until he lost it. So. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't think JDS looked good at all in his last fight. His movement sucked. I didn't think he looked very quick, and he looked flabby. He looked out of shape. So, I mean, then again, I mean, you could make the case that he's one of the best striking heavyweights of all time. I mean, he's got excellent boxing, but if he gets touched by Lewis, he's going down. So,
yeah, that's fair enough. But the thing is, with him being out of shape and flabby, if he comes into this fight the same way, he doesn't really need to be in that good a shape to outlast Derek Lewis.
The good thing about Derek Lewis is he can lose the first 2 rounds like he did against Volkov, like he did against Tabora, and then he can just pull out a knockout out of his ass out of nowhere in the 3rd round. I mean, that's kind of what Derek Lewis does. Did it against Travis Brown too. Lost the first round against Travis Brown, came back and won. I mean,
but in those fights they kind of allow him to come back in the fight. Like the fight versus Volkov, he just needed to stay away for 15 seconds, and he won the fight.
Yeah.
Dos Santos does, for what it's worth, he has a pretty good fight IQ. And he's not going to make those similar type mistakes. I'm not saying that he's not going to get knocked out by Lewis. He definitely could. But the stupid mistakes like that Volkov made that allow Lewis back in the fight, I don't think you have to worry too much about with Dos Santos.
All I would add to that is, Ty, are you thinking that Dos Santos is going to strike from distance or he's going to get inside?
I think that he could do whatever one he wants. It depends on where he's finding the best range. He's by far the better boxer at range, by far, not even close. If he gets in close, if his game plan is to sap Lewis's energy, if he gets in close, pushes him up against the cage, and pushes his weight against him and makes Lewis carry that, he's going to drain Lewis within a round, and then the rest of the fight's easy for him.
I think get inside is very risky because that gives Derek Lewis the opportunity to put him out.
I agree.
So he's got to pick his spot, pick your spot wisely, or else honestly you can wind up like Volkov.
Another thing that we're ignoring is Dos Santos has good kicks.
Yeah.
And we've already seen that when Lewis has got kicked into his body in the past, he does have problems with it.
But that is range. Right? That's really from range.
No, and that's at range too, and that's why I'm talking. He's the better distance striker at range. He's by far the better boxer. It's not even close.
Yeah.
He could work those kicks, and I think it was in the Travis Brown fight. Travis Brown kicked Lewis in his stomach, and it did not go well from the first kick. And granted, Travis Brown has no chin, and Lewis was able to test it. But if Dos Santos can get those same kicks, Lewis isn't going to recover from those because he'll just unleash him, and I think that he has a better kicking game than Brown.
I agree. I know CG's trying to say something, so I'm going to throw it to him in a sec. I just think that Dos Santos is going to do try to perform a very similar game plan to what he did with Ivanov. And I think he's going to try to box him up, stay on the outside, box him up. I don't think he's going to try to come inside because just like with Ivanov, he didn't want to get inside to let the left hand be a determining factor in the fight. I don't think he wants to come inside with Lewis and let that right hand be a determining factor. So I think it's going to go into the third or fourth round. I think he can gas Lewis. Lewis gets tired. Just by the third or fourth round, he'll throw those 20 right hands, those 10 to 20 right hands, and he'll be exhausted. That's when Dos Santos can get on the inside, push him against the cage, maybe even trip him down, get him down, and then, work some ground and pound, get him out of there. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's more likely. I'm just telling you, Dos Santos third round, Dos Santos fourth round, maybe throw a little play on both of those. CG, what do you think? And then we'll call it a day.
No, I was just looking at Lewis's record, and he's 9-2 in his last 11 fights, all 9 wins by knockout. Oh, I'm sorry. He had 1 decision win, or actually 2 decision wins. I'm sorry. Never mind, over Nelson and Ngannou. But if Dos Santos was smart, he would work the jab, keep the fight at a distance, and work Lewis's body because Lewis doesn't seem to respond well from the rib shots. I don't know if you guys remember the Travis Brown fight, but Brown kept on working the body. And I think that's his path, is he has to have a very cerebral game plan, work the jab, work the body. If he gets in close, he's getting knocked out. But yeah, if I'm betting anything, it's definitely Lewis. So, and I don't know how much I'm going to throw down on him, but I do like him in the spot.
All right. So that's Brews and Bets. Ty Slice, what else do you have for us this week? We have a couple, I believe, over-unders on for some of these fights. What fights are you covering this week?
Yeah, so I actually just submitted my projections to the Quant Edge. We got our optimizer up going on there. And then I actually submitted my projections for my prize picks also. So if you guys haven't checked it out, use the code Brews, sign up over there. What I do is I put my projections on there, and then you pretty much parlay over or under what I think the projection is going to be. And if you're right, you could cash in for some big money.
CJ, anything else you're doing this week?
No. So I land in San Diego around 11 o'clock in the morning. So the fights are going to be earlier out there on the West Coast. So yeah, hopefully, I don't know, man, maybe watch the fights from Pacific Beach with a cocktail in my hand and yeah, just enjoy it, get some sun, and yeah, chat back with you guys next week. So what's the next event after this? It's going to be
I am unprepared to answer that question.
Okay.
Right now,
okay.
We got Till and Masvidal next week.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Nice,
Liverpool,
nice.
right?
So,
That's out in London?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So it's going to be good with all the shit talk from Ben Askren. So that's going to be a very entertaining card as well. So,
And CJ, if you're playing, if you're making some bets, we do have a code that I can send you off air.
send it to me. Yeah. So I have a couple of my high risk parlays that I want to play. So yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, that's Brews and Bets. We won't wait too long, but hope you guys enjoyed. We broke down the whole card, and we'll talk again next week.